Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
I'm here to save the day. I'm here to save the day.
Soon I will be invincible. Because comics.
Welcome to Because Comics. This is episode 85. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host, the unforgettable Mike Christensen.
You'll never forget me. Unforgettable.
That's what you are.
Unforgettable. Though near or far. Like a summer song that sings to me.
So close to perfection. We've spent 85 episodes, I mean, mostly offline. Nobody's really heard it on the mics, trying to perfect that intro, but damn it, so close. Well, speaking of perfecting in 85 episodes, right? Those light up. What?
If anyone is new to the show, don't expect the segues to have ever gotten better or worse, really.
Yeah.
Just comparably bad.
Just comparably worse. And speaking of our many segues, Mike, that might be our worst and also last segue for a little while.
We have some exciting announcements and some not so awesome news for fans of this show, but also awesome news for fans of the show if you like us. And if you like this show,
we hope you
like us. I don't know what else we are offering, realistically, but I know other things that we will be offering soon.
Oh boy.
We, at Partial Arc, the two of us and a few other people here who work for the company, have created a board game.
We're very excited about it.
Called Mortals. And this game is going to Kickstarter in October, and that is awesome and exciting. That is the awesome news. Now, for the part that you may not be super as jazzed about.
Yeah.
So Kickstarters are a ton of work.
Tons, guys.
And also, like, we have to finish the game itself. Like, the game parts are done, but we just need, like, all the other bits of it.
Yeah.
You know how games aren't just like, here's the rules.
Here's the idea. I mean, I guess unless it's like a role-playing game, and we never do anything with those, especially on podcasts.
So because comics is going to be going on a little bit of a hiatus, an indefinite hiatus, we hope to come back when we have a little free time back. But
but
right
unfortunately,
now,
for the next several months, that's not looking likely.
At least until the game is delivered. We can hopefully have our feet underneath us, and we'll come back and kind of let you guys know where we stand kind of at that point. Hopefully we will be back with some regular episodes in the new year.
I would say it's safe to say probably through the rest of 2017 we will unfortunately not be coming to you guys bi-weekly to talk about comics, but who knows, in 2018 we hope to come back to the show, but in the meantime just a little goodbye for now.
Yeah, a little goodbye for now, and you can still find us in lots of places. I'm on Twitter at SuperGeekMike. Jay's primarily reachable through the Partial Arc Twitter account.
Yeah, you can just tweet at me in Partial Arc or on our Instagram.
We also have other podcasts. Jay and I are part of Friday Night Quests, which, if you guys aren't listening to, shameless self-promotion here, we are super excited about what's happening on that show right now.
It's crazy.
The episode that just went up a couple of days ago is maybe one of the top 3 I think we've ever produced for that show. It's one of my favorites, certainly.
It's up to episode 112 at this point.
Yeah, man. We do consistency.
So if you like us goofing off on here, that's really just the show with Mike and I goofing off with 2 other really great people, Kelly Egan and Jeremy Fox.
And special guests.
Like
hey,
celebrities and stuff.
Did you like Jessica Jones? Because we got one of the guys from that on our show.
Yeah.
Do you watch The Librarians? You probably do, because that show's great. And we've had one of that guys on there twice. So come and listen to Friday Night Quests. It's a show that we're a big fan of.
Yeah.
Because we'd make it, and it's like, we want this show
We have to be. If we make it, we're like, well, I guess we have to be fans of it.
But that's kind of the announcement.
Yeah.
This is going to be the last one for a while.
Which means our poll is going to be a little bit different for this episode.
Yeah, we decided to go ahead and go back to some throwback polls and just kind of leave you with, you know what? If you're looking for a comic to check out, if you're new to comics, if you have friends who are new to comics, even if you just haven't heard of these awesome comics we're about to talk about, or if you've heard of them but haven't had a chance to try them, these are some comics that we would love to leave you with.
Yeah, kind of like a silver bullet for comic recommendations.
So, Jay, what would you like to tell our listeners all about?
Well, guys, in my hands, I'm currently holding probably one of my top all-time 3 comic series or graphic novel series, whatever you want to call them, of all time. And this is one I don't believe I've even mentioned on the show. We've talked about in a previous episode how amazed we are by the current run by Brian K. Vaughan for Saga, but some people might not know who listen to the show that Brian actually worked on a really huge series beforehand called Why the Last Man. And this series was one of the ones when I was getting back into comics years ago. This is one that kind of piqued my interest, and I just picked up on a whim, and I ended up picking up the first of the trade paperbacks, and I ended up just collecting all 10 of them because the story is incredible. So if you haven't heard about Why the Last Man, and I think, you know, there was rumors years ago of like Shia LaBeouf like being the character in a movie or something that never got made.
I mean, the talk of it being a movie is persistent, but it's never come to fruition because it's something you want to get right.
Yeah, and it's incredibly ambitious to do because it is itself a post-apocalyptic type movie, and it's very world-spanning, and I'll kind of get into a little bit of it right now. First off, the entire series, it's written by Brian K. Vaughan and drawn by Guerra. And the art is fantastic. The writing is amazing. I mean, it is just silver bullet Brian K. Vaughan, like just doing what he does. I mean, this is the series that really kind of showed to me, at least, that this guy can do no wrong. And then when he came out with, you know, afterwards, when he came out with Saga and other several series like Saga and this, it just shows that the guy can do a lot of different things and can write really, really well for them. So Why the Last Man, the story is basically Y stands for the guy's first name, also the Y chromosome for Yorick. Yorick is our main character in this story, along with his buddy. It's a monkey called Ampersand, which is like one of the best names of monkeys ever, to name your monkey Ampersand.
I forgot that was the monkey's name.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So good.
And basically this story is about what if one day you woke up and all the males in the entire world were dead. And not just of the human species, of all species, just completely wiped out, and only females remained across the world.
Well, now, Jay, a moment ago you referred to Yorick
Yes.
and Ampersand as males.
Yeah, it's weird. The comic is just about this guy's last moments as he's dying.
10?
Over 10 books. No. That's true. That's true, Mike. I did say that because the one catch of this story is, what if you woke up and not only did this happen, but you were the last man alive?
Well, if you know what I mean, men, fellas,
Yeah,
sexism,
guys,
right?
sexism.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. That's not how the world works.
Nope. And that's definitely not this series. It is a dark, amazingly written, clever series, and it's basically about this guy, Yorick. His kind of journey is he wakes up, this tragedy across the world happens, and really himself and Ampersand are the only two males left in the entire world. And it's about his journey to really his goal in this entire thing is to find out what happened to his girlfriend, who's in Australia, having a long-distance relationship with him. So,
Which was already, like, that's already hard enough as it is,
let alone all of this happening.
let alone apocalypse.
So it's a really amazing look at, like, what kind of ramifications this would have across the world. What would this look like?
Let's begin with half the population is
Just
dead.
gone.
And also, we're not great at dividing up responsibilities in our society.
No, we're not. And also, like, just what does that also look like from the lens of Yorick's character, who, like, he's got, like, some goofy traits. He's like a startup magician, like a illusionist, and, like, there's a lot of interesting stuff. And then combine that with, like, the madness of, like, kind of a half Mad Max world, Walking Dead kind of style premise, and you get all these unique different factions and badass characters coming in and out of the series, and it's amazing. It's expansive. It's just a wonderful, wonderful story and comic series, and I can't recommend it enough. So again, that's Why the Last Man, written by Brian K. Vaughan and drawn by Guerra. So, Mike, what is your pull?
My pull is a 12-issue mini-series, I guess maxi-series it would have been, that ran from January to December of 1998, called JLA Year 1. It's written by Mark Waid and Brian Augustyn, art by Barry Kitson, and it is about the founding of the Justice League of America, going back to the original comic, the original origin, which was Green Lantern, Flash, Aquaman, Black Canary, and Martian Manhunter teaming up to fight some sort of alien menace. I think in the original comic it was Starro the Conqueror. It gets a little bit revamped for this, where it's them fighting some sort of alien threat, and then that threat paves the way for other dangers that the group has to deal with, and they fight some other villains. They have a really great issue where they fight the Brain and Monsieur Mala, and they've got some really good stuff. You get to meet Snapper Carr, that character that we talked about a couple of episodes ago. That's where I kind of know Snapper Carr from primarily, and see their sort of first super team. Actually, not first super team, because there are references to the Justice Society, which Black Canary's mother was a part of. So you have this history of superheroes and this new sort of dimension of them as well. But it's just this really well done series because it really puts the spotlight on the characters. Like Aquaman and Martian Manhunter both are not native English speakers. And at one point, Martian Manhunter tells Aquaman, like, you should try learning German before English. It helped me a lot.
Oh, wow, that's neat.
And Aquaman speaks very softly because he's used to sound traveling further underwater, and he doesn't understand Earth's customs, and people kind of give him a hard time. Like, he needs to change a light bulb at one point, and someone says, oh yeah, get the bulb wrench, and they kind of give him some crap, and then later on he throws that back in someone's face as an example of like, look, you are mocking me, and I'm a king. Like, yeah. Or like, I don't actually know if he's a king, but he's definitely like a stranger from a strange land who is a teammate and a partner and does not need to be treated that way.
And like an adult, like respect, guys. Like, there's another fellow teammate, and it's true that he's a king. I think he's a king, probably.
I don't remember if it's established at this point in the story, because like Aquaman's backstory is always a little wonky. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. Also, Green Lantern seems to be the only person on the team who doesn't know he's not the leader, which leads to some conflict at a couple of key points.
Oh boy.
But it's just a really terrific series. They team up with the Legion of Doom.
They team up with the Legion of Doom?
I'm sorry, the Legion. No, what are they called? Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
Their name Their name has always been confusingly sinister.
Oh, thank God, the Doom Patrol is here.
I guess they're patrolling for Doom, so like I get the etymology. It's just a little bit disorienting,
especially in the same universe when you have a Legion of Doom.
Yeah, but it's just like, it's a really awesome 12-issue run, and it does one of the best examples of the team being faced with a problem that's both internal and external, having no reason to trust each other, and being forced, minor spoilers, vague spoilers for a comic that's like 19 years old, they're given an opportunity to say like, we don't trust each other and we have no reason to, later in the series, and then they choose to make a choice to trust each other. And it's one of my favorite sort of comics moments, where the team, it's kind of the equivalent of the moment that you have in like the Avengers movie, where it's like, okay, we've been torn apart, and by all rights now we should walk away, but now we are making a decision to, you know, despite what we have learned, despite what we have been through, despite all reason, we are going to continue and carry on because it's the right thing to do, and it's the hard thing to do, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. That is like classic comic team-up moment. Yeah,
and it is earned, unlike some moments in some other comics and or film adaptations. Mostly I'm thinking of a moment in New 52 that I'm not going to get into, but there was a moment that I was not as pleased with because this comic handled it so much better.
And it felt like just kind of a hollow callback.
Yeah. And this is like, oh man, they just did it. They just did it right here.
Ooh.
This comic's good, and I really like it. It's one of the first DC books that I remember getting. Kind of when I got back, like you, when I was getting into comics, it was around Civil War, and so Marvel was pushing hard, and then by the time DC knocked on my door, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm out of the money. I'm sorry,
I've got all this Marvel.
I can't help you. But then I was at the bookstore, and I picked this up, and I've just always loved this one.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think DC sometimes really does shine in their team-up books in like just this exact timing, too. I remember having some trade paperbacks of like kind of one-off DC stories. I still remember having Tower of Babel. Did you ever read that one?
And that's also Mark Waid.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, excellent. And that was based off of, which also led to an excellent DC animated movie based off of it.
Yeah, spoilers, guys. Mark Waid's good at comics.
Yeah, really good. Still good. Was and is now.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a great pull, and guys, that takes us to our main segment. Mike, kick things off!
All right, that was a weird thing that happened. Yeah, I'll do the thing. Not a hoax, not a dream, but real. The Last Days of Superman.
was murdered forever, right? And
Yep.
he never came back?
It's a comic where he died. 1962, last Superman comic.
Gosh, right, Superman. He used to be a hero that people read about.
People heard of him. We cut to space. Our story opens in the upper atmosphere, and a strange glowing thing falls to Earth.
Your mind picture that you've painted for me is flawless.
It's glowing green,
Okay.
and it looks like a capsule. It looks almost like it's like the length of a guitar case, but more like not shaped like a guitar.
Okay.
It's shaped more, not quite a coffin, but shaped like a diamondy thing.
Sure.
Yeah. And anyway, it flies into the path of an astronaut's capsule and knocks it off course a little bit.
Oh, no.
Or no, it's like it's going to hit it, basically. And Jimmy Olsen is watching the feed. He goes, "Do you hear that, Clark? I better call Superman with my signal watch and let him know about this." And Clark's like, yeah, you do that. That's the only way to tell Superman what's going on. Steps outside, becomes Superman, flies out and deal with it because he's right there.
Yep.
And he flies up there and he sees this object is shining greenly. It's green kryptonite.
Oh, no.
Also, like you, apparently the writers make up words a lot because greenly I don't think is a word.
Greenlee's not a word?
I also forgot to say who the creative team is. That's my bad. This is written by Edmund Hamilton, penciled by Kurt Swan, did a lot of these classic Superman comics,
Yeah.
and inked by George Klein.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, he sees this thing, this structure seems to be made of green kryptonite. If you're asking who would have carved this thing out of green kryptonite and put it in space, no idea, never addressed.
Wait, really?
However, he does say like he can't go too near it or it'll paralyze him, but he can basically throw the rocket out of the path so it won't. The booster rockets that sent the astronaut up there, he grabs onto that and throws it into the piece of kryptonite to knock it into a uninhabited area near Metropolis, so he can deal with it later.
Okay.
The astronaut manages to fly and not run into that thing. Yay, hooray! And Superman flies down to this kryptonite thing, and Jimmy Olsen's getting there in a helicopter. Again, don't pull threads. He's there now.
This guy, I mean, he really is like one of the best reporters out there. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not a reporter. He's he takes the pictures, but still,
Yeah.
solid at his job.
The word for that is photographer, Jay.
I don't know. Picture guy, I believe, is the correct term.
And he runs up to the device because he can look at it, this thing, whatever it is. This chest has some writing on it in an unknown language. He's not sure what it is. And then Superman scans it with his telescopic vision, and I may have given you a little fib because we do get an explanation of what the device is.
You liar.
Not how it got to the atmosphere of Earth, but, what it is. It contains Virus X, a contagion fatal in 30 days to any native of Krypton.
Whoa.
The wind is blowing with deadly germs straight towards him. Jimmy, close the lid up. Don't do what you're doing. And he picks up this boulder, says, Jimmy, get away from it. I have to destroy it instantly to save my life. And
Is that how viruses work? They can be crushed by rocks?
he throws this rock down to bury it all the way underground.
Gotcha, okay.
And Jimmy snaps a photo of it right as it does. He says it should drive it a mile underground. But what did Superman mean to save his life? Because, of course, Superman was far enough away when he was reading this thing because he couldn't be in the path of radiation. And then he explains and says, oh, wow, it's a good thing you buried it before the virus, killed you. He says, yeah, but did I? The wind was blowing that germ dust right towards me, and I feel dizzy and weak. I feel strange, Jimmy. And they're wondering, maybe he was affected by this. And Superman flashes back. He actually remembers his father talking to someone about Virus X, his biological father.
Wait, he flashes back to this
He remembers Jor-El. He was sitting on the ground.
He was a baby?
He was like a toddler, playing with these toys on the ground, like Krypton toys and stuff. Which
Like
just look
all of us are able to flash back to when we were 2 or 1.
Yeah.
And remember full conversations.
I would say 1. Not the full conversation. He remembers, then you found no cure for Virus X, Tharbell? And the other guy says,
I would love that he's recalling this to Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, are you sure it was Tharbell?
no, I don't know, Jimmy.
I don't know.
This was so long ago.
This was a long time ago.
No, I haven't. Not even heat or cold or vacuum seems able to destroy these germs, but I'll keep trying. And he says, that virus could have survived for years since Krypton blew up. The past of Krypton has come a blight which is to cause my doom. They say, well, look, you maybe just got a little too close to the kryptonite. You should be fine. And he's like, we're pretty far from the kryptonite, Jimmy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I put it really far underground. I think I have a Krypton virus. So they go to see a doctor, and the doctor says, in this other room with Perry and Jimmy and Lana and Lois, and says, look, apparently the virus doesn't affect Earth people, but it's affecting Superman. His pulse, respiration, his strength. I have no knowledge of this virus and I have no cure for it. In 30 days, Superman's going to be dead.
The doctor's like, I'm going to be honest. I don't know what you thought I was going to be able to do, but I'm glad I got invited to this.
I'm not... That's not what I don't know if you understand medicine, but I do, and I don't have good news. And Lana says, Lois, we've been rivals for years. How will we ever forget Superman? And she says, I know, Lana, dear. We must comfort each other. Meanwhile, in the other room, the man...
wait, I'm still alive. Hold on.
Well, no, he overhears this. He apparently hasn't been told the diagnosis yet.
Oh, no.
But he hears it enough, and it's not like he mishears it. This is not a misunderstanding. He hears the news, like, oh, like, it's true, I have a month to live. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he goes, he flies out, throws himself into the stormy night, and he's sitting on a mountain rock thing, and the storm is flashing around him. He says, nothing can save me, but I've got 30 days left. It's my last chance to help the world before my end. He flies down to the Fortress of Solitude, picks up the giant key. He hopes he has enough strength to lift it, and he does. He strains himself a little, but he does manage to pick it up.
That's good.
In the Fortress of Solitude, he thinks about like all the things he wanted to do. Like, he'll never have a chance to go visit the people of Kandor again. Like, he hasn't been able to make them regular size, which is a bummer.
Oh.
He also can't go down and say hello, because like, hey everybody, have some Virus X.
Yeah.
He can't talk to Supergirl. Have some Virus X, Supergirl. That sounds like not a good answer. So he's got some things he wants to do. He knows about a threat from a faraway planet that's menacing Earth. The threat of a faraway planet, rather, which we'll figure out what that is in a little minute. He's got a plan to irrigate desert lands. It's a big to dig a canal system.
Wow. It's a pretty big project.
Yeah. And
Right, world hunger and thirst. I've been just putting it off.
he flies to the Daily Planet and he says, like, you know, they're like, you should be in a hospital. He's like, no, I got a list of things to do. And Clark's working on a job for me. So, you know, that.
I like that he's still committed to it, though.
Well, he says, mustn't let them know that I'm Clark. It would give them 2 to mourn over instead of 1.
Aw.
That's nice. And
But
then
I guess also it'll give them Superman to mourn over and then a really, like, in-depth, like, investigation into the disappearance of a really close friend.
Yep.
That'll never be resolved and will leave an empty hole in their hearts forever.
Yep. Then he starts to get a headache and he has to leave. He shakily flies out of the newsroom and he goes and he picks up like I
had a really it's just a ridiculous visual of him taking off like that just because, like, oh my goodness, yes, you're right, that is a really awkward takeoff. He's gonna go stop a whole planet?
No, first he's going to solve world hunger.
Oh, good.
So he built a giant shovel and Jimmy Olsen flies in with his helicopter and says, I don't know if it's his helicopter, but a helicopter. Please, Superman.
There's some questions to be answered there.
Listen to me. You must rest. And as he approaches, like, sure enough, Superman just collapses and drops this giant shovel that fortunately Jimmy avoids, like, doesn't get hit by.
Right.
It's very large. It looks like a bulldozer head, basically.
Pretty cool.
And so he signals to his robot Supermen that staff the Fortress of Solitude. This used to be a thing.
Right.
He had robot Supermen. They have all of Superman's powers. I don't know why he doesn't use them more.
Why doesn't he use them more often?
I don't know if he has all their superpowers, but like,
You know
they
what would be
are
a really good time to use them? When he needs to bury a Krypton, disease bomb thing.
Wow, what a super duper good point that is.
Yeah. Hey, I can't get close to that, but you know what can? Robots.
But instead, he has them build a lead glass isolation booth so his disease won't affect Supergirl. And they basically build a containment cage for him, like a terrarium, with little speakers in the wall and like a door, people like so Jimmy can go in and out.
But like, what does he put inside there? Like, what's like Superman's fun, like little,
It's a cot. It's just like a slab. It's very sad.
That is very sad.
And he talks.
Could have put like a TV in there. Come on, Superman.
Well, he talks to Supergirl. He's still on a mission. He talks to Supergirl through the glass. Says like, here's the list. Here's what you need to worry about. And so,
look, I think there's a real missed opportunity. I know it didn't happen. I think there's a real missed opportunity that he didn't finish the entire rest of this comic in a giant Superman-sized hamster wheel and then solved all problems that way.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go on.
That's a bummer. But Supergirl teams up with Krypto and sends him to go contact Lori the Mermaid. Lori is, of course, one of Superman's romantic interests.
Good.
The Mermaid, whose initials are LL. Because
he really has a thing.
He's got a fetish.
I'm sorry, what's your name again? Yeah, of course.
Lightning Lad?
Tanner, of course.
Lightning Lad, hello.
How are you doing?
So she goes to Kandor, talks to the Superman squad, whatever they call it, the emergency squad, and says, like, we need some help. She goes through time. I don't know. She goes through time very easily in this comic.
Supergirl?
Yes. She goes to the Legion of Superheroes and recruits their help as well.
You know what would have been a really good place to go in time before he got that disease?
And she recruits these people from the past and from Kandor and Crypto the Super Dog, and they're going to go solve some problems. Crypto goes down and talks to a mermaid. Crypto can't talk, but she's psychic. So that's how that worked out.
Who sent the dog on that mission?
Supergirl.
Interesting.
To relay the part of the plan they need Lori for.
Perfect.
Because, like, she can talk to him psychically, and also every other member of this team. But, like, what are they going to have the dog do? I guess. Because this is really bringing the Superman family together, essentially. The emergency squad of Kandorians go and they get out of, what's it called? Kandor, and they go on the mission. Meanwhile, everyone goes through the past, or through to the past from the Legion of Superheroes, but not everyone gets off the time bubble, the time traveling globe thing that they go in. Brainiac stays in his lab, and he works on something, thinking, this Superman's fatal illness gives me a chance I've wanted for a long time. And the caption reads, is he maybe, like, not in so many words, but basically, is he maybe evil? I know we know he's not, but, like, could he maybe be evil?
Subplot right now?
And anyway, the Superman robots start building these canals, and these canals that you can basically see from space, and it makes it look like Mars. They reference that many times. I don't know why they keep saying that. Mars does not, as far as I'm aware, have a canal structure.
Have a bunch of canal system going on.
In our world. So I don't know. Meanwhile, Supergirl sees that there's this planet that will eventually run into Earth. So she instead makes...
so that's what he meant by, like, a dangerous planet. Like, a literal planet is a problem.
Yep, and I believe it's uninhabited. And so Supergirl flies it into another uninhabited world. And there's actually a silent panel, which is so rare in these comics that there's a silent panel. It's just the two worlds colliding in a huge explosion. And Superman can see from inside of his... Well, he's actually just outside of his glass terrarium because all the Kryptonians are absent.
Out doing stuff.
Yeah, and he can see the little red flash in the sky, which really should mean that it's happening thousands and thousands of years ago, but whatever.
Yeah.
Time travel.
I think earlier in this comic, a dog swam down to speak to a mermaid, psychically.
Yeah, but that's internally consistent. Anyway... But he's still, like, Superman is talking to Lois and Jimmy, and he's, like, leaning up against a rock wall, and he's like, there's still this other thing, like, an even greater menace is the cloud of fungus that's going to drift off of that planet, and it's going to come here. How will she deal with that? But she's got a plan for that. So, Team Kandor has...
Team Kandor.
Smelted just a bunch of iron bars. And they line them all up, and the Superman robots fly them, and Crypto flies them. They make a big pyramid of these lead bars. It's like the size of a pyramid of Giza. And then Cosmic Boy, who's a Legion of Superheroes member who has magnetism powers, sends them all into space so that they will make basically rings like Saturn around Earth. And then as they move, they start whirling faster and faster and faster. They intercept with the fungus cloud, and then they can send that cloud far away.
Like blow it away like a fan?
Like carry it away, essentially, yeah.
Jeez, get all the super people together and they can come up with some crazy stuff.
Yeah, why is World Hunger a thing ever?
I don't know. I guess all we needed to do was kill Superman. What this really is reinforcing is that Lex Luthor has been working towards world peace forever.
If you ask him, certainly. I mean, a lot of this is actually very much echoed in an All-Star Superman.
Oh, I completely believe it.
Yeah. I mean, Grant Morrison, he likes old comics. Anyway... They have another plan. They got to go deal with Antarctica. They're going to make it fit for millions to live. In a minute, this comic's really going to fall apart, Jay. I just wanted you to be aware.
Okay.
The science is about to really fall apart because Sunboy is going to go help Antarctica make it a place for people to live.
Oh, good.
And that will not be disastrous for the entire Earth.
Is that how Sun works? And also Antarctica?
We'll get there. Basically... We'll get there. Anyway,
what happened to all the glaciers?
Back where we are, Lois faints because she hasn't eaten or slept for days.
Whoa.
And so Jimmy flies her back to Metropolis, and as he flies away, Superman is, watching the sun set, and he says, tomorrow it will rise again on what may be the last day of my life. Strange, but I feel a bit stronger now. Maybe it's the last surge of life before the end. While this last little surge of strength remains, there's something I must do. I'll get started now. And he flies away, and Jimmy comes back. He's like, where did he go? This guy should be on bed rest. What are you doing?
Am I the only responsible one around here?
It really seems that way. No, everyone's being very responsible. And Supergirl flies back to Brainiac, and she's like, hey, like, what you been doing? And he's like, I've been trying to find a cure for Virus X.
Don't tell anyone.
And I can't do that.
That's
so
sad.
Your cousin is gonna die. Yeah. Are we still cool, though? Are we still on for the sports game?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, life moves on, Brainiac.
Life moves pretty fast.
The Jimmy and his helicopter pilot, who I guess has been with him every time he goes out in a helicopter. I don't know.
Wait, do I stay in here? Is that Superman's house?
He literally just is a guy with like the cap and like the headset. And it's just like,
is he like Jimmy's chauffeur?
Yes.
Did he become like a billionaire like in a comic issue that we missed?
I don't know. But anyway, they're scouring the hills looking for Superman. Meanwhile, everyone goes down to Antarctica, a continent unconquered by man. If we could cause its ice to melt gradually, it would someday be a home for Earth's expanding population, just as Superman planned.
And when we say expanding population, we mean the ones that survived the flood.
So they carve a big globe that looks kind of like the globe at the World's Fair in New York and Queens.
Oh.
But it's a solid structure. And then Sunboy heats it up so it basically functions as a small sun that will gradually melt all of Antarctica's ice.
All right.
Like they say, I don't dare use my heat vision to melt the ice. It would work too quickly and cause floods.
But you know what won't? A giant sun.
They don't know what global warming is. They haven't seen the picture of the polar bear on the little ice block.
Aw.
But like we have.
Like there's a lot of species, I'm sure, that live down there that are super happy with how exactly that ecosystem is.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're not humans.
So get
fuck
on
'em.
out of here.
Anyway, a merman comes up to the shore and waves down Supergirl's like, a message. The tasks we of Atlantis were to do they're too much for us. We need your help. And they're like, well, cool. We finished this other thing. But like, really, you're worried. Like Superman's last hours are running out. He might already be dying.
He might already be dead.
He might already be dead. And Lois and Jimmy, I guess Lois was also in that helicopter? I don't know, man. That was a pretty small helicopter. Maybe they're meeting up after the flight. It's probably actually what's happening.
There's a lot of like food stores on that helicopter. It's going on a lot of trips.
Gas, a lot of fuel spent in this.
Gas mileage.
But the world's gonna last so much longer. So
Yeah, they're just making it a utopia.
just
So
use the fuel now.
what's a few more gallons, right?
They can't find Superman, and they're worried he might already be dead. And Superman goes back to Smallville. He's just looking out on it, and he's just thinking back to his time with Ma and Pa Kent. He remembers his romance with Lana Lang when he was Superboy, and she said, "I still think you're Clark Kent." He goes, "Sorry, I have to go now." Amazing. And he thinks about Lana and Lois and these, women that care for him. And he remembers Lina Leoral of doomed Krypton, whom he loved and lost when he went back in time to his birth world.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Yeah, there was another LL woman in his life that he loved.
What the hell?
He goes to Gotham City and he says goodbye to Batman and Superman. Nope, he's Superman.
Who?
To Batman and Robin. He says, we've had some truly we've had some great exploits together. I have to get along. And he flies off, and Batman basically, he doesn't say goodbye, but Batman's like, I think that dude was about to die.
Why did anyone tell me?
I think that dude's super about to die.
Has someone told him that I'm the world's greatest detective and that I know science and stuff?
And then he flies out past the cloud cover to the moon, which no one can see yet, but they will. He carves a message in it with his heat vision.
Now, this I do know.
Yes.
Because it's a incredibly famous panel
Yes.
of Superman.
Do good to others, and every man can be a Superman.
Signed.
Superman, parentheses, Clark Kent.
Oh, shit.
So-
He totally didn't have a personal moment with his friends, but decided to make it public around the world?
He flies back, and he gets back to the glass case, and then he immediately, collapses to his knees. And Jimmy runs up. He's like, you look bad, man. And he's like, I was saying goodbyes, but I think I'm spent, and I wish I could say goodbye to my friend Mon-El in the Phantom Zone, but Lori's too busy with her task. I gave her to contact him telepathically. And meanwhile, down in the Atlantis, or not Atlantis, but pretty close, there's this giant monster that Superman warned them that the radioactivity in this deep abyss has made it grow really, really, really large. So they rush up, they inject it with a formula, and it's going to shrink down to normal size. They did it, but then they go back to Superman. He's in that glass case, pulling the Snow White act. And he's thinking back to Krypton, his parents, everyone who perished there. Supergirl says, well, wait, hang on, Brainiac 5. You said nothing on Earth could cure Virus X. Could there have been something on Krypton that cured it? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, maybe they found a cure before the world perished, but that was years ago. If there was a cure, it's beyond reach by now. And she's like, not if I go through time. And so she time travels.
Again, a very convenient but strangely used power.
Yeah, just a thing she can do, I guess. And she goes to Krypton, and
It's a very powerful ability.
And I guess she finds Tharbell and overhears, and someone says, then there's no hope of a cure for Virus X? And he says, no hope at all. The only thing that will destroy Virus X is the element 202, but that itself is fatal to any human being. I shall use it to destroy this sample of Virus X and give up the hopeless search.
Wait, fatal to any human being? Are they not referring to themselves as human beings, or they are referring to themselves as human beings?
Are, but they fly back, and she says...
Because I feel like, wouldn't that be like, but it's fatal to human beings, but since we're not, we're totally cool, dude! Solution found!
It seems that way, but she numbly flies back to 1962 and reports there never was a cure, and he says, well, hang on, though. Tharbell said he destroyed his Virus X sample in the chest using element 202. So if he killed that virus, how would I catch it? And they're like, yeah, I guess. But then why are you dying? Because, like, if you didn't have Virus X, you're still dying, though, Superman. And then Saturn Girl is her name. She's psychic. She's a lead member of Legion of Superheroes.
Yep, that name lines up with that power
Her name
set.
is very hard to remember because she's the only, like, one of the only Legion members where her name has nothing to do with it. Like, Sunboy, I get your deal.
Yeah.
Lightning Lad, yep, it's on the tin. But she gets a psychic transmission from Mon-El, Superman's friend from the Phantom Zone. He has observed this tragedy from the beginning, but because they were engrossed with their super tasks, he could not make mental contact. It's not Virus X that's killing Superman. There's a tiny nugget of green kryptonite. It's stuck on Jimmy's camera. That's why every time he's been around Jimmy in the Daily Planet building,
feels like garbage.
That's why he's been going like in and out of his strength. Like, check his camera.
What?
And they check. It's like, oh, yeah, it's on.
Oh, guys, I goofed so bad.
It's on there. And he's like, yeah, I guess this lead booth is keeping it from affecting everyone else. Like, Jimmy's been in here with Superman every time because he's Superman's pal. You know,
hey,
they're
buddy,
buddies.
I'm gonna go fly Lois back to Metropolis, but I don't want you to feel alone, so I'm gonna leave my trusty camera here.
No.
Right by you.
Remember, as he flew Lois back, Superman felt a surge of strength.
Yeah,
in his final hours.
So Jimmy Olsen, the real weakness of Superman.
The person who is poisoning him. And they say, you'll recover fast now, Superman. He's like, cool. Hey,
I gotta go fix something real quick.
Supergirl and Crypto, would you mind helping me unvandalize part of the moon? Just the last line we really need to get rid of. And so they go up there and they score that part off the moon. And they bid farewell to... So it still says, do good to others and every man can be a Superman.
Still a great statement.
Still a great statement. Not at all untrue. And then they watch the Legion of Superheroes fly away. And Lois says, Lana and I have been thinking, Superman, that mysterious mission Clark Kent went away for you while you were sick is a little suspicious. But I'll forget it. I'm so happy you're still around that I don't care who you are in your secret identity. And Lana says,
but it's probably Clark Kent.
And Lana says, me too. And Clark says, that's something to be thankful for, as long as it lasts. And he winks to the camera. Now,
yes,
this is a comic from 1962. Like I said, it's number 156.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to very quickly summarize the events of one of the stories in issue 66 of Superman. This is a story. We'll get through it pretty quick. I know we're running a little high on time, rather. But last episode, we can run a little late.
Yeah.
This is from 1950. This is a story written by William Woolfolk. Again, art by Kurt Swan. It's called The Last Days of Superman.
What?
And in this story...
How many last days has Superman had?
And in this story, he sees a thief running out of a area with a bunch of jewelry, and one of them he deduces must be kryptonite because he doesn't feel well. And as someone... the guy slams his briefcase into the photographer's lens as he gets arrested. He's like, oh, blast, these are photographers. They're not going to get my picture this time. And the things go wild. This photographer is not Jimmy Olsen because Jimmy Olsen doesn't exist yet.
What?
And later, Superman feels faint anytime he's in the newsroom. Clark Kent does, anyway. And Clark Kent is taken to the hospital, and he's told he has Walker's disease, whatever that is.
Walker's disease?
And he only has a month to live. He's got all the same symptoms as Walker's disease. He overhears this diagnosis from the other room.
Really?
Again, no one ever gives the diagnosis to their actual patients. And then, like, as Lois visits, he says, like, oh, I mean, like, he looks fine. I guess he's going in and out of these attacks. And Clark says, yeah, I'm feeling fine. But he looks up, oh, man, those are my symptoms. I'm going to be dead in a month, 30 days. So he goes to go take care of some stuff. And he goes and he stands on a rock and he thinks about things while there's lightning flashing around him. He thinks, what am I going to do for the world? I got to make the world a little bit of a better place. Well, scientists tell us there'll be dire shortages of coal, oil, and other vital materials by the end of the century. So he's going to help solve that crisis by remedying that shortage. So he goes and just digs a mountain of coal out of a mountain. Just, I'm sure, destroying the livelihood of so many people.
Yeah,
that was their
so
jobs.
many people that's what they were supposed to be doing.
And he drills a bunch of oil, and he gets all these giant barrels, and he starts storing it. Things that...
pouring it into the ocean. So there's enough oil for everyone.
He's built this giant tank to hold all the oil he's found. He'll bury it underground where some geologist is sure to discover it by the year 2000.
Wait, what? Is he hiding it?
Yes.
He's just hiding barrels of oil?
Yeah.
Gee, I hope somebody finds this after all the work I just did.
It took up almost 2 weeks of his spare time to do those 2 tasks, so there's still very little time for him to work with.
Such a weird thing, like he spent 2 weeks to like hide a whole bunch of oil somewhere.
Yep. And Lois comes to Superman and says, hey, our friend Clark Kent is dying. Do you know maybe how you can help him? Like, help him with this disease? And he's like, you're asking the impossible, Lois. There isn't a way for me to do that. And they're like, you can do the impossible, Superman. I've seen you. Oh, you're leaving? Then you don't want to help Clark? You're heartless. And he thinks, poor Lois. She's heartbroken over Clark's illness. If she only knew, I'd give anything to save his life. And mine. And anyway, Perry's like, man, you really should take a vacation, Clark. Like, we will give you 2 weeks off with pay. And he's thinking, man, Lois and Perry are the salt of the earth. They really are. Oh, I really don't feel well when I'm in here. I really do not feel well anytime that photographer's around. I'm not making the connection. But anytime there's a photographer around, I really don't feel well.
He consciously states it, and he's just like, still can't figure out what's going on with me.
He goes to a barren desert the next day.
Hold on, I can't leave this note alone.
Sure.
Perry, like, salt of the earth for giving him 2 weeks off as he's dying. What a nice boss.
He's a good guy. He makes a large sheet of glass out of sand. He turns it into glass, and it turns it into a mirror, and he uses it to power energy from the sun into a generator for a country that's running low on power. It's a little ambiguous where he is.
Didn't he just spend the last couple pages digging up a whole bunch of coal and he just suddenly invented like solar energy for this one country?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, very much so. He goes to interview a scientist and he's told, man, this planet was going to come into Earth's orbit by 1987.
Wow.
It may even collide with Earth and perhaps destroy it. So he goes up there, he finds that planet, he slams it into another unoccupied planet, and man, that crash was so loud it almost shattered my super hearing. Because that's how space works.
Yeah.
But those uninhabited planets have now destroyed each other. The world is safe again. But he's not done. He's going to leave a message for the people of Earth.
Are you serious?
So
how much of this comic did that other comic rip off?
So he goes to the Earth, and he doesn't use his heat vision. I'm not sure if he has heat vision.
Now, when you say he goes to the Earth, do you mean he goes to the moon?
Goes back to Earth, and then he goes to the moon. And he leaves a message by carving in the Earth with boulders. And it says, do good unto others, and every man can be a Superman. Signed, Superman, parentheses, Clark Kent.
What the hell? Wait, what?
And then he goes back to the newsroom. He puts away his Superman comic. Yeah, you can look. It's the same.
Oh my God, you're right. It's exactly the same.
He goes back to the Daily Planet. He says, all right, I'm going to put that Superman costume away. I'm never going to need it again. I'll be dead in a day or two.
I'll be a corpse soon.
Yep. And he goes back into the office, and she doesn't know it. Lois doesn't know it, but this really is goodbye. I'll never be coming back. And she says, I'm going to make you a cup of tea. And then as soon as the photographer comes in, he really doesn't feel good. And he's like, okay, hang on. he uses X-ray vision, and he looks through the camera, or through the wall into the other room, into the camera of that guy, and he's like, oh, kryptonite jewelry got smashed in the little shard of kryptonite probably on that thing. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. He uses X-ray vision to burst the camera into flames.
What?
And then they have to throw the camera out the window.
Kind of a dick move, Superman, but I mean, I guess if that's gonna resolve the problem,
it did.
Wow. Wow.
What a great day to be alive. What a great Scott, that message I wrote on the moon revealing my identity to the world. And the moon's just about to come up from behind the clouds. So he puts on the uniform he never thought he would wear again. And he flies up there and he takes a bunch of rocks and he fills in the part that says Clark Kent.
Jeez.
And it just says, do good unto others and every man can be a Superman. Signed Superman. They're like, oh, Superman wrote a wonderful letter on the moon. Message on the moon. They don't say letter. That'd be weird. Those are sound words of advice. If people treated each other better, there'd be no crime and no more wars. And Clark goes to the doctor, and he's a perfect specimen of health in every way. How could we have diagnosed his case as Walker's disease? And he's like, well,
maybe it's because I'm a doctor of humans and not of crazy flying space people.
And Lois kisses him on the cheek. I'm so glad you're not going to die. And he thinks, she kissed me. That does it. That proves she really loves Clark Kent. And she thinks, you know, Clark, I asked Superman to find a cure for you, but he refused. He must have known all the time the doctors were wrong. Oh, he's so brilliant. Bah, there she goes mooning over Superman again. And I still don't know which one she really loves.
Oh man.
The end. I will say,
No.
I think that comic, the first version we read, which is the later version, is absolutely an improvement. I think it is much stronger that it's Superman who's dying.
For sure.
I think it is much stronger that the entire Superman family has to get involved. And also it's nice that Jimmy is a character that we know and like, and we don't suspect him of anything when he's like in the booth with Superman. He's allowed to actually care for Superman, be by his side more frequently, which means he feels sick more often.
And I guess also it's still like trying to hold up a bit of a misdirect if you know that original story. Although like he still has the
not
camera.
really. It's beat for beat.
Yeah. Wow. Just identical. I was like, for sure the moon part isn't going to be in there, but it's in there.
I know.
It's freaking in there. The
know.
exact same phrase. Wow. They just added more of the Superman family, basically. But what if he didn't do this without all of the other characters involved? Is essentially what happened. And also a mermaid subplot with a monster.
Yeah, it's basically just, hey, let's take this short story and expand it and add the Legion of Superheroes because they exist, and Supergirl exists, and Krypto exists, and let's add them all in.
That's crazy. Yes, objectively, a better version of that story, but wow, just identical. That's bonkers. Also, don't trust doctors who don't know how to diagnose you.
Yeah, if you're going to go see a doctor, tell them you're an alien. Actually, that didn't even work for Superman because Superman was the one who was dying.
Yeah. Maybe go to I guess because he was sick, he didn't want to go. Like, go to the Candor people.
No, he couldn't have because then he would get them all sick.
But wear like a lead outfit and be like, check me out,
All right,
Doc.
turn your head and cough. All right, you're wearing a lead suit.
Oh, wait.
No.
I'm dead now. Yeah, I guess that's true. There's a problem there. Man, just wow. Did they acknowledge it? Were they like, by the way, gonna be exactly the same as a comic that came out about 100 issues ago?
No,
Enjoy.
because the turnaround of readers was frequent enough that it wasn't an issue. I mean, Superman, no, not him. The other guy. Jimmy Olsen got turned into a monkey twice.
And nobody noticed.
I mean, people did eventually because we have like collectors and Wikipedia and stuff. But at the time, people didn't really notice.
Second time it happened, like, what a novel idea.
And there were other comics that would just reprint stories 12 months later because they knew that like their readers would age out after 12 months.
Wow.
Not Superman comics, but other comics would absolutely do that.
And now because we have collectors, they're like, damn it, can't pull that trick anymore. People actually read all our comics now.
Dag nabbit.
Consistent readers.
Yeah.
But wow, that is a crazy... I had no idea. I knew about that famous story.
Yeah.
No idea that it was like an original print, like,
I mean,
100
technically
issues
speaking,
ago.
then Grant Morrison took that same story and expanded over 12 issues.
But
so
All-Star Superman definitely has a little bit of a different plot.
he doesn't write.
Lex Luthor
He doesn't write
isn't
that message
killing
on the
him.
moon.
Right. And also Lex Luthor isn't killing him with cameras being nearby.
That's true.
It's I love All-Star Superman.
It is different.
Yeah. And that's, hey, still a great comic. And that phrase in the moon, classic Superman, still solid. Wow. All right, guys. Well, that was our potentially last main segment.
For a while.
For a while.
For a while at least.
And for now, we end our episode as we end all episodes, with a game. Onto Super Mundane. All right, this is our game, Super Mundane. This is the game where we name a mundane task or activity, or sometimes a job or a role or something, and we have to define which hero would be the best and which hero would be the worst at doing this specific job or activity. Mike, you have our Super Mundane for this episode.
I do.
What is it?
Who would be the best and who would be the worst podcaster?
It almost feels right. Gosh, I don't know. Who's got a powerful, booming voice? Also, I guess, good, what's the word?
Vocabulary?
That's the one. Like us.
Amazing. Amazing.
Gosh.
Simply amazing.
I'm trying to think.
The other thing, so here are the requirements of being a podcaster, so you're aware.
Okay.
Then listeners, so you're aware. You need to have a regular schedule.
You do.
You need to have consistent content and consistent quality. And I think someone who would manage to find the time...
Not Peter Parker.
Not Peter Parker. Someone who'd find the time who'd be interesting and engaging. I think Superman would be a pretty good podcaster. Because if he had... It depends on what he did for his show, but if he had a guest on his show, you know that dude would make it all about the guests.
Of course.
He's going to put himself last, you know?
And, like... Also, Clark Kent is a journalist.
Yes.
And he meets very interesting people and could probably just double this as part of his job at the Daily Planet.
And also, Clark Kent should be in radio, not television. The fact that he was ever on television is dumb, and he was for a while.
Yeah, that is dumb.
He was a television newscaster. It wasn't just that he worked for a TV news program. He was on screen talking about Superman. Like, he can change his voice. Anyone can change their voice. If I do this, and I'm Clark Kent, and
Mike, where'd you go?
I'm here doing a podcast. And I'm Clark Kent, and I'm going to talk about Superman. Here's my Superman interview. You would be able to fool people.
Oh my God. Clark Kent could do an interview show where he interviews himself.
Or other superheroes.
Every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that would be a great podcast to have Superman interview other superheroes in the Justice League.
Yeah.
And it could all be from the Fortress of Solitude.
Or just interviewing regular everyday people.
Yeah, because he could just fly around with that mic. I'm sure he could have like a robot version of himself carry it around.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be excellent.
Use some shrinking technology that he can't figure out how to make it work on Candor and make
No,
these
of course not.
Things grow and shrink so he can like take it out. Oh yeah, I happen to have this.
It would be a pretty solid podcast.
I mean, I would listen to Superman's podcast.
Yeah, of course you would. Everybody would. I mean, yeah. Probably like, shit talk Lex a little bit. Just kidding. Just a lot of interesting characters on the podcast. He could do it in different locales. Like, hey, this week's episode coming to you from the surface of Mars with John Jones.
Yep.
Like, that would be great. Hey, Darkseid, stuck in the Force Wall. What do you have to say about yourself and your recent plot that went awry? So, I mean, yeah.
Darkseid is.
All right, that was Darkseid. He exploded the first of my 3 mics and finally gave in when he realized that I was going to commit to this no matter what he did. But yeah, I definitely listened to it. Now, who would be the worst podcaster?
Aquaman.
Is it because the mics would just not work because they'd be underwater?
Or because he's used to talking underwater.
Is it because he's used to really talking really, really, really low?
Or because he's
I'm
an
Aquaman.
antisocial Viking. Depends which version of Aquaman we have. Or because he would constantly get letters, and every episode he'd have to say, I don't talk to fish.
I don't talk to fish.
Or just let him talk to fish, DC Comics. Like, that's fine.
Just commit to it.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, I know it's the joke, but you have to pretend to like Aquaman.
Like lean into it.
Yeah.
Just lean into the fact that he talks to sharks. That's rad.
Now, here's the exception. I would listen to Brave and the Bold Aquamans.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. But that's the thing. That's a very... In the pie chart of all the Aquamen that have ever been Aquamen, the Brave and the Bold is just a small sliver of those many. And
because Jason Momoa Aquaman, I don't think he's going to be verbose enough to do a podcast.
No, probably not.
Is he the worst, though?
Oh, of the Aquamen?
No, I'm sorry. Of the heroes.
I thought we got on a bit of a sidetrack for
No.
a movie that hasn't come out yet. For a character that we haven't seen.
His minute and a half in Batman vs. Superman. Is it the worst?
I think you said one word. I believe it was talk in that entire trailer. But, would someone be worse?
Who would be worse than
We're
Aquaman?
kind of like in the Justice League realm, but I'm trying to expand a little bit, see if there'd be anybody. Yeah, I mean, Aquaman wouldn't be great just because of all the frustrations. Yes, from like, hey, do you talk to fish?
Red Tornado would be very bad.
He'd be incredibly monotone. And then I threw another tornado, and it was stopped.
What is Christmas?
I don't know. I think you could make a podcast out of Red Tornado trying to experience humanity.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah. Just have him and the Vision on for a duo podcast.
Jeez.
Just be dynamite. Dynamite audio.
So why do you have tear ducts? I was given tear ducts by Ultron, who wanted to make me the heightened version of human.
Ooh, we got a Jarvis version of Vision.
Why do you have tear ducts? I don't know.
and just some kind of like leaden silence between the two robots.
Why did you make a family?
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Yes?
Of course, the worst podcaster is Black Bolt.
Oh, of course.
Black Bolt is by far the worst podcaster.
Of course he is.
Because he literally can't do it. All right, our special guest for this episode is Black Bolt, King of the Inhumans.
No, just lean into the mic. Just.
Yeah.
No, you need it. Don't. It's not gonna bite you. Go ahead and just
something.
Okay.
This is an audio medium, so Mr. Bolt, we're gonna need you to.
Okay, so he did this hand gesture where he pointed himself and then me and then sideways, and I don't know what that means, and
Now
I felt like it was a lot of story was tied into that.
It's interesting, Mike. He has diagrams of like an explosion he's picking up right now, and then pointing to his mouth. I don't know exactly what that means, but at some point, buddy, people are really interested to hear about the Inhumans. I mean, not that interested. Let's be fair, but you are a king, and we're intrigued. You live on the moon.
I see here two things I want to ask about. One, I see here that you have a bulldog the size of a car that you used to teleport.
Very interesting.
No comment on that.
I mean, a lot of people want to know about the teleporting bulldog.
Okay, cool. Nothing on that one.
Your wife, I see here, has living hair that's actually used as a weapon.
Actually,
Care to comment?
before we get to his family, I'd like to address this one. For her full name, you wrote this down. We really don't appreciate you pranking the show. You wrote Blackagar Boltagon. Oh, and it's real though. Is your actual name? I'm seeing an emphatic nod. Okay. Well.
Okay. Well, then.
That's
certainly a name. I mean,
well, can we talk about your wife? Oh, that's a lewd hand gesture. That's a real. No, we kid. Yeah, he's smiling. Yeah. Here's unsatisfying.
This has been a tough interview. Tough. We've had some tough ones on here.
And if he was a scroll, he could just talk.
But yeah, hands down, Black Bolt, the worst podcaster.
Look forward to the Inhumans coming to ABC.
Our one and only plug on this show
for the Inhumans.
ABC was like, what? Because comics? Let's get some of that advertising money that way.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's his name from Game of Thrones on that show.
Yeah, I think he's gonna play the exact same character.
I think he's gonna play Loki.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. That show has me a little concerned. The production value looks
like they tried to make an Inhumans adaptation
on a TV show budget.
I don't even think you need to qualify it that way.
Yeah.
I think we are seeing the warning signs.
I mean, maybe when they announced it as a movie and then we're like, maybe not a movie though.
When they announced that to a stunning round of indifference.
Yeah. And of course an Inhumans movie.
And everyone's like, yeah, you mentioned that.
But like as a movie though, you know, your favorite heroes.
Look, we know you don't have the X-Men rights. It's okay.
Bolt.
We know you don't have the X-Men rights. It's fine.
And like, we don't care that much about the Inhumans. But they live on the moon.
They're trying so hard in comics, you guys.
Yeah,
They're
they really
trying
are.
very hard.
It's too bad. Well, guys,
that's the note we're going out on. No, actually,
Inhumans.
Actually, I would like to say something.
Sure.
Before the show ends, a couple of final thoughts. I think we have our final answer on that game, right? We've got
Black Bolt for sure, worst podcaster,
and Superman would be really, really good. So I just want to give some final kind of thoughts on like how the show, like what the show means to us.
Yeah.
Kind of. Because we designed the show to appeal to new listeners. That was one of the big pushes that we did when we were developing the show, to try to share some of the wackier stories or the more obscure or the occasionally regrettable, or sometimes the classics. And our main goal has always been and will always be, even beyond the show, to be positive and welcoming, and we really want to thank the fans for showing those same qualities.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
We have always prided ourselves on inclusion rather than exclusion. And I think, and Jay, I think you can agree with this, fandoms in general, and comic fandom in particular, but not just, they trend towards insular tendencies. And our objective was never to make anyone feel unwelcome. We always wanted to make sure that if you don't know about a famous comic book storyline or the backstory of a famous hero, like a lot of times people will hear that and they'll like respond even as a joke, like, oh, get out of here. Oh, you're not a real fan. And it's like, like you will then limit the people who enjoy the hobbies you love. And that's always how I felt personally, is that like no one was born knowing Batman's origin story, despite the best efforts of Warner Brothers Entertainment. Like we aren't born with that information. We all learn it at some point.
Right.
And, we got to share with you guys some wacky things like Plastic Man's weird origin,
or Kite Man's background.
Yeah, or we got to talk about the regrettable Spider-Man stories that have come and gone. We had a little thing with Nightcrawler and his demon father that we'd rather not discuss ever again. But
and that kooky storyline where Batman traveled back in time and then forward in time real fast.
And one of the main takeaways was like, for almost every episode, either Jay didn't know the story we were talking about or I didn't. Because we want to make sure that, like, hey, like you, we haven't read everything.
Yeah.
Like, I have never read a page of Preacher. And I have all of it. I have only just started Sandman. Like, I have not dug very much into Sandman.
I gotta say, Sandman is one like that I've completely missed.
I know, and I finally read Bone last year, and it was fantastic and amazing. And basically, don't judge people for not knowing the difference between Swamp Thing and Man Thing when you're going out, into the
anything,
world.
You should be excited to share that kind of stuff.
That's
with
the thing
people.
is, like, there are enough gatekeepers in the world. There are enough people in the world who want to tell people what they can and can't interact with, what makes someone a fan or not. We want to extend the other response to invite and to inform. And every interaction we've had with the fans has been incredibly positive, whether submitting ideas for main segments or suggestions for games, or even just reaching out for comic book recommendations. Like, everyone that we've talked to and gotten to know through the show has been a fantastic experience and a delight. And I think it's because our show advocates positivity and welcomeness. So while the show is going away for a little while, we are still going to carry on that approach in our lives because that's how we operate.
Absolutely.
And we encourage you to do the same. I mean, in comics and movies and video games and RPGs and all the things that we love, there are always people who are going to pass judgment for someone who's not initiated. But instead, you can be an ambassador. And you can welcome people into what you love. And you can say that exciting moment of, wait a minute, you haven't read Daredevil? Oh, my friend, I have to give you some Daredevil comics. Instead of, you haven't read Daredevil? What kind of fan are you? That stuff turns me off. I hate that sort of thing. And fortunately, through all the, we've been doing this show since Winter Soldier was in theaters.
Yeah. 3.5 years?
Yeah, I think so. And we've never run into that with any of our fans. We've never had people have interactions like that around us that I'm aware of. It's our goal is that, and we want to thank you guys for being a part of that and for helping to carry on those feelings of welcomeness, earnestness, and just honest enjoyment of comics.
Yeah. Thank you guys, for that, and for being an audience for this show and being a proponent for the show. And man, we've had one hell of a good time making this.
And this isn't quite the last you've heard of us. We have a little bonus audio for you guys.
We do.
Not sure exactly when it'll go up, probably in the next couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
But keep an eye on your feeds because we have a little send-off for you guys.
Should be pretty fun. Well, guys, as always, this has been Because Comics, and this was episode 85. Please keep looking for us. If you happen to be at Gen Con very soon, we're actually going to be there showing off this new board game we talked about, Mortals. And come hit us up. We're actually going to be showcasing the board game on Friday and Saturday, which is August 18th through 19th. Also, look for us if you want to keep hearing our voice in the near future on Friday Night Quests or Roll to Seas, as we called out. Both podcasts if you enjoy role-playing. Roll to Seas also has a little bit of wargaming mixed in there as well. But either way, guys, it's been spectacular telling these stories to each other and sharing these with you guys. It's been the big thing that kind of put Mike and I on mics in the first place, and it's been amazing the entire way through. So thanks for listening, and remember,
there are still 4 Avatar sequels planned.
There's so many! How? What else are they gonna do?
No one wants them.
But they're mining on this planet now. But we gotta stop it.
Because comics.